Hello everyone, welcome to the AngularJS video on Intellipaat. Now, before we discuss today's agenda, do not forget to hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon. Now, let's move to the agenda points. Firstly, let's discuss functions, function expression and function declaration. Then we'll move to hosting.
So let us talk about what is a function all about. A function, it is nothing but it is a fundamental building blocks in JavaScript. It is having a set of statements that performs a task or calculates a value. And if you want to use a function, you must define it somewhere in the scope from which you wish to call it. So if you have created a function, somehow you have to call it also. So make sure it should be in the same scope. So in short, if I say function is nothing but it is going to have the set of operations for the calculation, or it is going to perform some task. All those things can be written inside a function. Now the thing is how to create a function. Function can be created using function expression, using function declaration, and using the function constructor. So let me talk about all three of them one by one. So first let us see the function declaration. Function declaration is very easy. We are going to use a function keyword. Actually, function keyword is going to be used in all the three cases. Function keyword is going to be followed by the function name. And then these small brackets are nothing but wherein you are going to pass the input parameter. Inside the curly braces, you are going to write your set of statements wherein you are going to do some calculation or some task. From here, you can return some value if you want to return. So in that case, you are going to use the return keyword. Okay, so first I'm going to create a function using function declaration concept. Say function foo, and then that's it. I'll say here console.log. I'll call this function. Sorry, I'll display something inside this console.log. I'll say here, hey, inside the function. Function declaration, as this is done for the function declaration, so I'll mention the same console statement. Yeah. Now if I run this much of code, let us see what happens. Let me remove the other stuff which is not needed. Run this node second.ts. No output, right? Because we have just created a function but no one is calling it. So let me call it. How to call a function? Just write the function name, and based upon how many input parameters it is accepting, it is accepting 0 parameters, so I'm not passing anything. Now let us see the output. We are getting something what is written inside the function. Similarly, you can pass some input parameter also. So if I say here, I want to print the values. Say I want to do the addition of two numbers. So I'll say take something like this. This is how we declare the variable, right? In terms of TypeScript. But when hope you remember, whenever we are declaring the variable, we always mention the var keyword, right? But here, whenever you are writing with a function name, you never say var keyword. It's just, the variable name and the data type. Yeah, and I'll just display, or maybe I'll just return some value here. So I'll say here return is a keyword here. I'll say here a plus b. Yeah. So now if someone is calling, this is going to return some value. So I'll say here 10, 10. I'm passing 10, 10, and that value let me display in a console statement. We'll execute it. First of all, it is not going to execute. The reason is we are using the TypeScript additional features. So first I need to convert using compiler. So let us ask our compiler to convert into the .js file, second.ts. Yeah, so the moment it is done, just check out your second.js. This is how it is going to look. It has removed that data type thing. And now we'll run node second.js. You get the proper output. We are getting hey inside the function declaration as well as the output. So this is how, we declared a function. We pass the input parameter and it can return some value also. Makes sense? So function is nothing but it is going to have the set of statements and wherein you can perform some tasks, some calculation, all those things you can do it. The very first kind of function expression could be named function expression. Let's check out the syntax here. We are writing the function here in the same way how it is written, but we are assigning some variable. We are giving this value to some variable. So this is what known as named function expression. The next is anonymous function expression. The meaning is when the function has some name but it is assigned to a variable, it is known as a named function expression. But when the function does not have any name and assigned to some variable, it is known as an anonymous function expression. So let me convert the previous code into named first, and then we'll convert into anonymous function expression. So I'll say here, say var bar equal to, so how will I call? See here, immediately I'm getting the error here, cannot find any name called foo. So if I want to call, I need to say here bar. Make sense? Now we'll execute the same again, tsc, as we are using the the data type thing, and then we run, same output is coming, but this time we have converted the function into from function declaration to function expression. Make sense? Next, let us convert into this is what named function expression. Let me just convert it into anonymous function expression. So I'll just remove this keyword, that's it, and let us give the same name as foo, or let it be bar, anything, there's no issue. Now just check out, this function name is foo, right? This is what anonymous, there is no name after function keyword, but whatever it is going to be named as. If I want to call this function, I have to call with the keyword as foo here. Output is going to be exactly same. First tsc and then the node. Same output is coming up. So, make sense? Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just, better I'll have both kind of functions here. First is the function declaration. Let me just write here again. Function foo, and other one I'll say here as function bar. Yeah, so this is what function declaration, and this I'll write here as function expression. Okay, so this is how we are calling foo, and similarly I'll just call the other one also, that bar. So this is with, I'll just write a comment here, this is what function declaration. I want to show you something, that's the reason I'm mentioning all these things. I want to show you the difference between both. And this is what function expression. Okay, and we'll just check out, cross check, everything is fine. Both are coming way inside the function declaration, all those things is working. Okay, now just check out one difference here. Now just see, what if I'm going to write these two lines before I write the function definition. Yeah, so below I have written this is what function declaration, this is what function expression, and before I execute, before I call these two methods, before I give the definition of these two methods, I'm going to call these two methods. That is what I'm going to try. And we know whenever it is a JavaScript code, it is going to execute from top to bottom. Okay, so now I'll execute it. We'll see what happens now. Do we get any error? I mean, as per you, what it should be. Because see, foo and bar, they all are defined after these two lines. So let us see, do we get any error or not? So first tsc, and the moment I say node second.js, and I'm getting the error. See here, it is not a compiled error, right? It is a interpreted error is coming up. What it says, bar is not a function. What is bar here? Just see here. The bar is nothing but our function expression. So what it says, bar is not a function, though it is defined, but it is not saying the same for foo. It is only saying for, oh God, modified. Yeah, we'll cross check again. tsc and then the node. Yes, check out the error again. Bar is not a function, but it is not saying anything for your first function called as, see, that is going to be executed very well. Function declaration is coming out very well. Now the reason is this is what known as the hoisting. Okay, hoisting is the keyword which says the literal meaning of hoisting is the raising. So what happens as and when your see, once it gets converted into second.js, obviously your interpreted, as we know, JavaScript is the interpreted language. So while executing, what it does, it is going to hoist all the functions which are declared, which are created using function declaration above. So before, what is happening internally, before, we are going to write these two lines, automatically this function foo is going to come. So this is something going to look like this, Control X. Okay, makes sense? So it is something, there is some concept called hoisting. The literal meaning of that is raising. So all the functions which are created by using function declaration, they all will be shifted at the top, right? And so that's the reason for this I'm not getting any error. But when you are declaring a function, when you are creating a function using function expression, they don't get hoisted above. They will be at the same place. So what does it mean? So if I call my bar after this, then will my code work? Obviously yes, because now bar is defined very well. Earlier it was, as because bar was not hoisted, the function expression function was not hoisted. That's the reason I was getting bar is not a function or bar is undefined. Got it? Let us see here. I made a changes in the second.js, so I'll just execute it directly and see here we are getting both the outputs. So this is what known as the hoisting. Hoisting is going to be different for both the cases. In case of a function declaration or a function expression, any function which is declared, which is created using the function declaration, they will be hoisted above. Whereas any function which is created using the function expression, they are not going to be hoisted. They will be at the same place where exactly they are. Make sense? See, hoisting is not only for the functions, even for the variables also it is the same thing. The meaning is here, say suppose, say here, if I say console.log, I'm going to show you the variable hoisting now, x, right? And below I'm going to say, okay, this is what your type is script, right? So here there cannot be any error, as it is a compiled language. Let me just, it will immediately say, x you have to define it. Let me just take out from here. I'll just write down here in the .js file. Okay, see, hope you observe this thing. The moment I write this thing over here, what it says, immediately it is pointing me the error. Can't find name x, right, in the TypeScript file. But when I try to do same thing in the second.js, it is not showing me any error, any compile time error. As we know the reason, JavaScript is the interpreted as well as the TypeScript is the compiled language. So the moment I say console.log of x, right, and let me just run it as it is. Let us see what is the output. So when we are running, then it says what is x, right? X is not defined. Make sense? Yeah. But when I say here where x, okay, now just check out. I'm not getting any error this time. Do I get error? Just let me do the clear screen. Yeah. Now we'll see. See, there is no error, undefined. So what is this? Variables as well as the functions created using function declaration, they all are going to be hosted. So the moment I write this line, the meaning of this line is going to be, this line is going to go up at the top, and that's how it is going to happen. Clear? What if I assign some value, then what happens? Does the value also get assigned? Does the value also move to the top, hoisted? Let us see this. Value does not get hoisted. So the meaning is, it is something like, something like this happened internally. So all the variables and all the functions created using function declaration, they all are going to be hoisted above. right? That is what the hosting in terms of JavaScript as well as in terms of TypeScript. Hosting is not a keyword for only for the TypeScript. It is a keyword for JavaScript also. So I already told you about named function expression, anonymous function expression, and the next is IFI. IFI stands for immediately invoked function expression. So in this scenario, see the syntax here is, in these kind of functions, we no need to call these functions as they are going to be self-executed. Okay, so anyways, I'll show you this thing in the upcoming, in the very soon. Let me show you the difference between function expression and function declaration again. Function expression and function declaration, they are not synonymous. We have seen that. Unlike a function expression, a function declaration is bound by the function name. That also we have seen. And this is what the fundamental difference that we have seen is, function declaration are parsed before their execution. The reason is they are going to be hoisted above before their execution. On the other hand, function expressions are parsed only when the script engine encounters it during execution. Got it? That's the reason we were getting that error when I was running. As function expressions are parsed only when the script engine encounters it during execution. The meaning is, the moment I call the function expression, that time only they are going to be, parsed. Got it? Now, what is hoisting? I already told about the same. Function declaration, the functions created using function declaration concept and the function variables as well as the normal variables are always moved to the top of their JavaScript code by the JavaScript interpreter, but function expressions are never hosted. So this is the major difference between function declaration and the function expression. Hosting, the literal meaning of hosting is raising something. Okay. The difference between, again the same, this is what the same example which we have tried for. This is what, function declaration, and we are trying to say, calling this function and we get the proper log foo. But whereas in the other scenario, this is a function with a function expression, and when I'm trying to call it, it says not hoisted is not a function. The same error we also got it. Actually, the bar is not a function. I hope it makes sense. The third way could be, to create a function is going to be using the function constructor. Function, see here, F is in capital here. TypeScript also supports defining a function with the built-in JavaScript constructor called function. Syntax for that is new function, and then it takes the input parameter. How many input parameters are there? Just mention it. If it is not having, don't mention anything. And finally, the return value of the same. Okay. So how to call this kind of function? You just call it with this name. Okay, so this is also one of the way. I hope function declaration expression with the hoisting is very much clear. Now let me create. The function constructor. I'll say here my function equal to new function you can tell your input parameters and you can tell your definition, what is the body of your function. So all those things you can tell. Suppose this function does not have any input parameter, it is just having the body. So I'll say something like this, console.log. I'll say here, okay, you cannot put double quotes inside double quotes, so you have to use single quotes. I'll say here inside function constructor. Okay, so how to call this kind of function? Just write my function. We'll execute this, open the terminal, and then by mistake I closed it. CD, it is desktop, CD Angular, CD workspace, and I'll just say this, it is node second.js. what it says, we are getting properly what it says, console.log we are getting it. So there is no input parameter, it is just having the body of that function. Make sense? So this is one of the other way to create the function. What is IFI? First of all, it is known as the immediately invoked function expression. It is a JavaScript function or a self-executing anonymous function that runs as soon as it is defined. The syntax is very simple. Check out here the function, the statements you can write, and the moment you say this thing, right, the last small bracket, the meaning is I'm trying to execute this function. So okay, so we have seen all the three ways. We have created a created a function using function constructor, using function declaration, and the function expression. Under a function expression, we have one more way called IFI. So that is what we are trying to understand. Say suppose as of now I'm just writing console.log. Further we can complicate this. I'll say here inside IFI function, immediately invoked function expression. As it is a function expression, again hoisting concept is always valid here. Okay, now how to execute it, how to call it explicitly, how to call it implicitly, just mention this. So the meaning is we are calling this function automatically as soon as it encounters this line, the function is going to be called automatically. See, in other scenarios you always call a function explicitly, but in this scenario you are not supposed to call it explicitly. So the moment I say this, see inside every function. Makes sense? Now your function, suppose it is having two input parameters, something like this, right? And I'll say here inside IFI function, and let us do some calculation, a into b. Yeah, so we have to pass these two parameters from here. I'll say a 10, 10. Again execute it, and we are getting inside IFI function 100. No one is calling this function explicitly, but if any function is written using IFI, like small bracket closing, and then we are passing the input parameter, and if suppose there is no input parameter, so we are not going to pass anything. So this function is going to be called automatically as soon as it encounters this line, and check out the output. So here in this video, what are the things we covered? So let me tell the quick recap of the same. We understood what is a function, how to create a function, what are the different ways to create a function. We spoke about the hoisting. Hoisting can be done for the variables as well as for the functions also. And then about IFI we learned here. So this was all about this video. So that's it, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Just a quick info, guys. Intellipaat provides full stack web development course in collaboration with ENICT IIT Guwahati. The course link of which is given in the description below.